So it's working and it's not working at the same time. What is going on with that? But I do got a little bit more internet service. So give me just a couple of seconds here, and we should actually start seeing some picture rotating out in here. Where is that at? Twitter X. Well, we're going to see a couple seconds go on here. I'm not sure what happened with the lag, but we're going to make sure that we are. Oh, oh, okay. So it is working. It's just not. Yep, there it is. All right. Now I see myself. Oh, there's a long lag over on Twitter X. That's what happened over there. So, all right. Strongly apologize for the inconvenience of what just happened at the top of the show. I really appreciate for those of you that are still here. I had to make sure that you could see and hear me. Dylan told me it wasn't working right now. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna fix this right now because the first 15 minutes of the show gets wiped out anyway right after the show processes for YouTube. So first 15 minutes won't be there. So if you're still here, thank you for hanging around, Dylan. Special shout out to Michael on YouTube. Special shout out to Steven on Twitter and Danny Stefan on Twitch. So what I was trying to say was we're going to be following the shutdown. We're talking about benefits that aren't being passed around come the beginning of November due to the shutdown still being shut down. Then we're going to start talking about um, what they're fighting about during the shutdown, which is the reason why we have the delay in the shutdown. Those are the things we're talking about on Monday. Tuesday, we're going to be talking about different investment opportunities that we can benefit from during the shutdown. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about a new country to invest in. And then we're going to be dealing with on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be dealing with, or sorry, Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. I had it right. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be talking about the different things that we can do to improve ourselves in our personal life. That's what I was saying while the mic was off. So Uh, and then Sunday is our questions and comments from the fans. So if you guys got questions, I got answers. And you guys can benefit from that on the weekend. Now, we haven't missed out on anything because I got at least about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes worth of information that I'm going to be giving you guys today, which is going to be piggybacking off of earlier this week when we were talking about different side hustles that you can benefit from online on your computer. Because I have been telling you for months that you can become addicted, you can work off of your computer, make a bunch of money, or not billions and billions of dollars, but enough money to live off of, and then work from anywhere in the world and still generate wealth. You are also able to use work visas, digital nomad visas in certain countries around the world, where because you have a steady income coming in from out of their country, they'll give you 12-month long visas that aid you in extended stays out of the country. If you don't own your own home here in the United States, and or even if you do, if you own your own home in the United States and you have one of those homestead tax credits and a tax deferment situation that allows you, depending on your age, to not have to pay taxes on your house, and then all you have left is your utility bills. And if you drop the insurance and registration on your vehicle so you don't have to pay for it till you come back, you don't have to do anything except for lock up your cars in your garage and hop a plane and go do what you got to do. And if you put down a few $100s or a couple $1,000 if you wanted to on your utility bill, so that whatever happens with your utility bills, it happens till you get back, you can leave the country for a year, come back, and all of your stuff still be in the United States when you get back here because you work off of the computer. The goal is to make sure that you make enough money to pay for your standard of living in another country, in addition to the standard of living that you're leaving behind in the United States, so that when you come back, whatever standard of living you have in the United States is still there. They haven't seized any of your assets or anything to that effect, no repossessions or anything to that effect. This usually is more effective when you cars and you're financing or own your house. Uh, so, well, it's better if you own your house, not finance your house, because if you own your house, you got a mortgage to pay for. But if all you have is a mortgage, that is way easier than if you have a mortgage, a car note, car insurance because you have a car note, and all of these other things that's navigating that doesn't benefit you. Um, so just think about that. Now, what we're doing today is piggybacking off of that topic, and we're going to be talking about some of the ways that we can build an unorthodox area of revenue, capital, money that will come in that we can then utilize to diversify into investment opportunities so that we can not only have multiple streams of revenue, we can also have multiple diversified investment portfolios, which allows us to generate more revenue from more places. So, if you manage to hang out with us for the first 15 minutes of the show, you manage to now get to the best part about this situation because this is going to be the part where I start feeding you guys a large quantity of information. And I put a lot of work into this. Like I had just finished the script right before the show. Is on StreamYard and gave me the middle finger. It happens to us every week. There's always something. And that's why I tell you guys to like and subscribe and also hit the notification button because you never know when we're going to end up going live. But you know we're going live because we don't always start on time, but we never let the sun rise without going live. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic because what if I told you guys one of the biggest lies that we have all been sold is that a 9 to 5 job is the only path to security. Now, if you've been watching the show for the longest period of time, at least for the last 3 months, if not for the whole year, you know that is a lie. You know that you can have job security until your job is gone. He said the show is over already. No, it ain't, Michael. It just begun. It has just begun. Um, the You have job security until you lose your job, just like the folks that got furloughed. You have like they'll hire you back once they have the ability to pay you, but if you're not willing to work for free until you can get back pay, you don't have any money. Financial security and job security are not the same thing. And for years, uh, one man traded his time for his money, thinking that a steady paycheck means he will build a real future. And that's when people start realizing that that situation, that dynamic is extremely wrong. When you stop showing up for work or when your boss stops paying you, that is when your money stops. It doesn't matter how many years you've been with the company, it doesn't matter how much your boss values you. When your job stops generating revenue to fund your paycheck, or when you stop showing up for work to make that paycheck, whether you got sick, injured, car accident, whatever the case may be. If you don't go to work enough, that's it. The money will dry up. Even if you're only salary for a while in America, because once you stop showing up for work for a period of time, even salary employees, they cut you after a while. They have to let you go or something. They got to terminate that contract, rethink the investment opportunity. Then we find ourselves running on a treadmill, perpetually tired, never actually getting anywhere. We find ourselves working long hours. We find ourselves working most days out of the week. We find ourselves exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, and that all changes when we discover certain keys to real wealth that wasn't tied to your salary, but a handful of bizarre side hustles that most people would laugh at. So, if we go from being trapped in a cubicle to building a 6 figure automated investment portfolio, and then by renting out a car, monetizing a weirdly specific skill that you thought was otherwise useless, and three other unorthodox income streams about to be broken down, you would be able to find a way to generate a larger quantity of wealth than most people even realize. So, in tonight's show, we're not just going to show you a hustle. We're not just going to show you how to grind. We're going to show you the exact system that we can use to turn a strange cash flow into a real hands off wealth approach. Okay. Because for 8 years, you might find yourself the perfect employee as an account manager at a logistics company or a store manager, regional manager, whatever, and you might find yourself having the whole uniform down, wrinkle-free shirts, you know, forced laugh for the boss's bad jokes, and the ability to look incredibly busy while your soul was slowly calcifying. Every other Friday, a number would pop into the bank account and a wave of temporary relief would wash over you. Now, that number was your reward. A paycheck alone, however, won't build that lasting wealth because income is just one part of the equation. And this is the paycheck to paycheck trap that most Americans live under. But it's clever because it doesn't always feel like you're poor. Long as you have money to spend when you want something, or in some situations when you need something, you don't feel like you're poor. But when you think about 3 weeks from now, you're not sure if your money's still going to be coming in the way it was coming in 3 weeks ago because you have yet to show up for work. A lot of us who work on overtime, 15 hours or more worth of overtime every week, and we've built a standard of living to that overtime, we don't know when our company is going to come and say there's a blackout on overtime, that they put a cap on overtime. And if they put a cap on overtime, your paycheck is crippled. So while it doesn't, it feels like you got money because you're, instead of working 4 days a week, 40 hours, or 5 days a week, 35 hours with 1 hour lunch breaks, you're working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week with 1 day off. You're working 7 days a week with half a day off on the seventh day. And you think that you got it because your ass ain't got enough time to spend it. And I got to be honest with you, it feels like you have just enough to get to the next paycheck. There's that emergency fund again. We ain't even touching the emergency fund. This is just you thinking that you got it all under control because your money is coming in at a regular pace. Even if you have an investment option where you take a third of your paycheck and put it away, or 10% of your paycheck and put it away, and take the other 10% of your paycheck and put it in your emergency fund, and you have your paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, and you have, just in case like you crash your car or something like that, you might be able to fix it, or you might be able to do some minor repairs on the house. You could still have an emergency fund and a small business portfolio or personal portfolio and live your paycheck to paycheck and shit not get you past 2 months. Because the government shutdown right now is eating away at 1 month's salary of a lot of people's emergency fund if they had an emergency fund, right? Granted, they'll get it eventually, but until they do, paycheck to paycheck, lavish lifestyle, you got to bring that to a screeching halt because there's certain things that while you might want to keep paying for that Netflix subscription, while you might want to keep paying for PlayStation Online for your kids or Xbox Live for your kids, you're going to have to turn some of that shit off just to make sure that there's enough money there till the next time you get paid. And that level of panic indicates that you don't have financial stability. You don't have true security. Soon as you realize time to tighten the belt, you realize your ass is poor. Once you got to start rationing the food because ain't enough food in the house, you realize that your ass is poor. Many high earners find themselves in this exact cycle, showing that income alone is not the key matrix of wealth. Their salary only lasts as long as they continue to work and is vulnerable to lifestyle inflation, where expenses rise with income, leaving savings very stagnant. The modern career pays you just enough to make sure that you're too scared to leave the job, but not enough to be able to retire after 20 years on the job. So you get this aha moment. And it wasn't a dramatic scene. You just get you a nice little aha moment. And it's a quiet Tuesday morning feeling at, 3:10, sitting in a gray cubit under the hum of a fluorescent light. You was making that spreadsheet something that you do on a regular basis. Look, he says assets equal toys, and toys equal liabilities. Because your assets are things that generate revenue. You're not Assets don't always equal toys. Assets equal capital gains. You buy a house that you're renting out, you buy an apartment complex that you're renting out. You're not playing with that, you're just benefiting from it. Toys are like Lamborghinis, Maseratis, yachts, but those are liabilities. Now, when you buy a Lamborghini and then you rent it out to somebody and you're turning profits off of renting out a car, that's when you start buying toys as assets. When you buy a yacht and then you host yacht parties and sell tickets to the yacht party where people are going to pay a fee to get on your boat and enjoy your boat, that's when you start turning a profit. But when you think about how much that fucking boat costs and you think about how many parties you're going to have on that boat to offset the cost of the boat and the dock fee, you know, that's a business in and of itself. That boat would have to sail out every day to make your money back off that boat. And typically, you find yourself 2 to 5 years after the initial purchase seeing a return if you are consistently generating daily, weekly, monthly investments, or not investments, but profits off of the possession of those assets. But they're only assets because they're making you money. And if it's making you money, you're not using it. Somebody else is paying you to use it. So it's not a toy, it's an asset or a toy. Toys are liability because you can have a collection full of guns, but them guns are not assets unless you're leasing out those guns at the gun range where people are renting out your guns for a premium, and then you're going to have to take the cost of cleaning them and servicing them and stuff to that effect out of the extensive usage from individuals that want to play around with your guns and pray to God they don't break them. One of those things. But when you're in a situation where you're not really thinking about work, you're dealing with a spreadsheet meticulously tracking how much of your life is spent doing the things that you hated for money that just seemed to disappear. That's the kind of spreadsheet that you're working on while you're sitting in your cubicle at your job. Once you get this type of spreadsheet out, you'll come to find the final number is that you will sell over 60% of your waking hours for a life that you'd rather rate at a C minus, something that most people would agree is a feeling of being broken inside. That 60% of your life is going towards a lifestyle satisfied with. That's when we realize that the difference between income and wealth, income is what you earn, wealth is what you keep and grow with. It's two different things. So we're going to start small, turning spare time into cash by giving opinions in paid online services, which I tell you is good if you don't have any money at all, but it is not worth it in comparison to your hourly salary because opinions in paid online surveys is giving you pennies on a dollar. You might spend 20 minutes for $5, but you're doing what 5 surveys in an hour. You're not getting your hourly salary. You know what I mean? And there's a limit to how many surveys that they have accessible from certain sites. And the worst part about some of these surveys is that they try to encourage you to buy something in order to get paid off of some of these surveys. Then, even worse so, if you use your standard email, you are signing up for so many different things that are going to start spamming you with junk mail just to make a couple bucks. Then you start participating in focus groups, hoping that they pay. It's not much, but it is a start. If you understand that your income was just water that you were pouring into a bucket with a giant hole in it, you would understand wealth. And then you would start to understand that this isn't about the water that you're pouring in the bucket, the wealth that you're putting into the bucket. It's about building a machine that collects the rain for you so that you don't got to do anything about it. Real wealth is built by creating automated financial frameworks. That's going to turn regular income into growing assets. We've talked about week after week how we can take the money that we work for, put it into investment opportunities, and watch them grow. Most days out of the week, Michael will tell us how much gold and silver has increased over the past few days or over the past couple of weeks, where we could have invested in gold when it was down and seen a rise and then sell the gold and then come back. And you will find that if you take the money that you work for, the money that you don't need, and put it into investment opportunities, you can potentially generate some levels of wealth. He said, then you do YouTube videos thinking you'll get richer. Well, there's a funny thing about YouTube videos because, to be honest, you actually can do YouTube videos and you can get wealthy off of doing YouTube videos. It's the kind of YouTube videos that actually generates the larger quantities of revenue. For example, women can do YouTube videos where they wear attractive outfits. A lot of times don't even have to say anything. And they can get a lot of views from a lot of thirsty men who don't really have the ability to look at and interact with attractive women. And those women can make money on YouTube without an issue. TikTok, Twitter, other such. There are, and you don't even have to do anything derogatory for it. There are situations where affiliate marketers have products that they're selling where women can model makeup, model clothing, model hair products, model shoes, bathing suits, whatever, and get paid for it. So a lot of the times, the chick in that outfit is not in that outfit starving for attention. A lot of times, the chick in that outfit is in that outfit because the product owner paid her $100 to $500 to put that dress on in that 60-second video, and they can turn a salary off of that. They can make decent quantity of money off of that. Now, fellas, we can't do that shit. As much as we would want to, we can't do that shit. Ain't nobody trying to give us $1,000 to put on a suit. Now, when it comes down to the other ways that you can make money off of YouTube videos, that can there are folks that can make videos out of clowning around. They can make videos out of pranking folks. They can make little skits, little amateur hour movies, and put those out there for entertainment. And then you've got the ones that are just all about chaos. Videos about people fighting and yelling at each other and devaluing and degrading each other, or having negative run ins with police officers. And those chaos videos turn viral. And those platforms can make a lot of money. Educational platforms, while those educational platforms can drive more revenue with uh, the CPR rate, the thing is that not that many people, at least in America, out of the 170 million users that are in America, are looking for educational stuff. He said, "You still got time to buy silver. You always got time to buy silver. I guess you need boots." Yeah, yeah. Selling vessel delos. Yeah, something like that. So the issue is that when you start dealing with a platform like this one, this is a very niche platform. It is a rare niche platform because it's a highly interactive platform, multi-platform streaming, because we are on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and we might end up in TikTok once TikTok sells to the US, and we would be streaming on 4 platforms simultaneously live, and we're providing financial information as well as personal development information in a two-part process that all comes together throughout the week. So this particular podcast would be a rare breed. It's going to be a pioneer style podcast. Now, any mildly to highly educational adult is going to see this as a very beneficial podcast because I'm not a red wing or a right wing or a Democratic speaker or a Republican speaker because I come from uniformity. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense. I'm not covering for nobody. And we try to rationalize why do we allow the things that don't make sense to occur when the things that don't make sense negatively impact us. So all of that boils down to the following of a platform like this would stay longer and it would get bigger, but it would take a lot longer than the podcasts that are based off of chaos and violence and stupidity or the sale of sexual attraction. So yeah, you could make a lot of money off of YouTube. You can make a lot of money off of podcasting. It just takes a long time to build your brand. Now there are those you see some of those guys that are 10 million views, 10 million views or 2 billion views. Those podcasts have been around since 2009. Some of them 10, 20 years. But those of us that are like 2, 3 years in, we got another 5 years to go before we put a stake in in the algorithm. But once you start seeing that change, then you're like, oh, okay. That's when you start seeing there's so many comments scrolling across the screen that your comment doesn't get caught unless you pay $100 to be seen. Anyway, though, you start doing some things. You start doing different things to try to grow your assets. When you realize that your paycheck wasn't a wealth building tool, it was a survival tool, you start realizing that what you've done is just survive your entire life. If you decide right then and there to start building your machine, all you have to do is grow out of a sense of desperation, a sense of deep internet connection. And if you start finding a willingness to look for money in weird and bizarre and overlooked places, you'll start finding some less than normal financial traffics that are consistent. So the first weird income we're going to start talking about here was born out of pure resentment. So you look at your car, reliable but boring sedan. All you can see is bills, right? It was a depreciating asset, a liability if you're paying notes on it. But if you own it, it's a depreciating asset that is actively paying for you, that you're actively paying for, right? So cars that you own, if you own it, it's a depreciating asset. If you're leasing it or financing it, it's just a liability. Now, first, we're going to foray into an unorthodox wealth system that was about to blow up in coming years because we used to only find rental cars with Enterprise. That's one of the well known ones. Then we've seen Hearst, Budget. other such systems. Going into this current wealth system, you're going to participate in the sharing economy by renting out an asset that you already own. Now, this is something that we talked about a while back on the show because Michael was talking about buying used cars out of the auction. It's cheaper. You own it. If you don't like it after a while, you can sell it, then go back to the auction and buy another one. I was telling Michael about how you could flip the cars in the auction because you can buy it out of the auction, clean it up a little bit, bring it to another auction, and potentially sell it for more than what you paid for it in the first auction. But you also can go and buy cars out of the auction, uh, high mileage, good condition, and clean it up a little bit, fix a couple things, make sure the check engine lights aren't on the vehicle, and then rent them out. We first start thinking about this when we stumbled across the app called Turo. It's the Airbnb for cars. Most of the time when we think about diversifying into unorthodox money streams, we think about getting an Airbnb. We have a lot of seminars out there online right now that is encouraging people. You can get in a property that you don't own. You can sublet the property. You can make a profit. You don't have to do anything. Look, I've been to Airbnbs before, and I can tell you, not only as a guest, but as a host, the Airbnb, somebody's got to clean the house up after the guests leave. And if you don't have enough revenue coming out of that Airbnb model that you set up, you're the one going from door to door doing laundry, mopping floors, scrubbing stuff, and cleaning up behind your guests. If you got a good guest that leaves the house cleaner than what they found it, you have less to do, but you're still going to have to do something, sweep the floor, catch what they missed, because the next guest is only going to complain about what the last guest left behind, unless it's something of value. Then you have the competitive pricing. So you're not always able to have a cleaning service come and clean each unit when you're competing against neighboring houses that are willing to make less money to close on a deal. It's work. But with Turo, Turo, if your car is reasonably near individuals that are willing to come to get the car to rent the car out, they will rent certain makes and models from you that they don't want to own. They don't want to pay the cost to own. And they'll drive around looking nice in the car. The more valuable the car looks, the more money they're willing to pay for it per day for the number of days that they have it. And you can end up making profits off of the cars that are sitting in your yard. This works better if you're living closer to regular population because if you're out in the fucking sticks, it is hard to rent these damn cars out. However, like Michael said, buy land. So if you buy land, your personal house doesn't need to be where the cars are being sold. You just need to have a level of surveillance to monitor the cars that are on your land, inner city or close to the inner city where people can come and collect the cars. The setup could be simple. A plot of land doesn't necessarily have to be paved, but it would be nice if it was. Park your cars there. You can do two things. You can put the cars up for sale, or you can rent them out, or you could put the cars up for sale until they're rented out. Then work out a deal with the person that's trying to buy the car, so that when the car rented comes back, the buyer can buy it, navigate that forefront, but you're making profits everywhere there. If you do your research on this and then you decide to take a plunge, you can find that if you're cleaning your car on Saturday and you take about 30 high quality photos and write a pretty savvy description, that will be the selling experience. The perfect, reliable car for a weekend trip out of the city. Price it slightly below competition, and this is because you're not trying to be greedy. You're trying to turn a profit, and you put it up there for slightly below the price that the same car is being rented at in that area. That gives you the first few renters and positive reviews, especially if your car doesn't have any mechanical failures. You set your availability to the weekends and the work days to allow anybody to come and get it whenever they need it. And all the time that your car would have otherwise been sitting at your house, it is now on the road. A few days of this, first rental requests will start coming in. Somebody's going to want to take the car out on the weekend. They're going to buy back the time that car used to not make you money. They're going to bring it back perfectly clean and leave you a 5-star rating on it. Sometimes, depending on the price of the rental fee and the quality of the car, you might have just made $55 direct deposited into your bank account. It's not a lot of life changing money, but it's $55 off of one handing your car keys to somebody else. When's the last time you gave your keys to a friend and you didn't have to put extra gas in your car when you got it back? But this is going to be a huge mental shift, because if the cars are out there, and depending on how much your car insurance is, if the cars are out there and they're turning five, 3 to 5 rentals a week, which isn't a lot of rentals, and you end up, 20 rentals out of the month, you start getting closer to a couple $1,000s worth of rentals, depending on how much you're charging per trip. You might make money from an object that used to just a short time prior only cost you money. If you realize that you can apply this logic to almost anything that you're trying to accomplish with turning revenue from it, you could have rented out a spare room in your house the same way you do on Airbnb. You could have an empty desk space during the day on site, where uh, websites like Desk Near Me generates new income stream with little active effort. Because if you have a quiet house, no kids, business person in the area might need a little bit of space to work, and you've got that quiet space to work, some people will pay for that. All you have to do is unlock the door and let them in, show them where they can set up their stuff. If you've got non-flexible Wi-Fi, like I got my stuff, it's not as stable as it could be. But if you had non-flexible Wi-Fi in your neighborhood where it was always solid, especially if you had high-speed internet, and they're able to piggyback off of your internet and you do what they got to do, work in peace. They might even pay extra to go raid the fridge, get them something to eat, grab them a couple drinks. You have to do no work towards getting paid for them to use your stuff. Where how many times has your friend used your computer and then you got it back broken? How many times your friend used your phone but you the only person paying the bill? Why are you paying for Netflix for you and your squad, and your squad is not paying for your Netflix, but they always calling you asking you for a Netflix password? When you start making money off of the little things in life that used to only cost you money, you're going to start getting obsessed. Learning the patterns of the city and automating communication with copy paste messages and a lockbox for keys could be another way that you could generate some revenue. If you're doing this, a first full month, you might make like 450 bucks. Not a lot of money, but it completely covers the car, the insurance, maybe the light bill for the house, and now the car is officially free. By month 6, if you stay successful with this, the one vehicle that you had is consistently bringing in between $800 and $900 a month, nearly $10,000 a year from an asset that used to be a total drain. If you're renting out that office space, that one room that they can work in, you might rent that room out for $50 a day, $25 a day, or if you're renting it out by the month, you might rent out the thing for like $300 or $500 out of the month. The probably take 10% off of your daily and then add that up to a monthly and something to that effect. But then you would still be doing the same thing. You'd be making $300-$400 a month off of renting out a room, or $100-$200 a week renting out the room if they're renting it by day, and you're turning a space into a profit. This type of behavior will teach you the most important lessons in wealth creation, because you are probably surrounded by dormant income that is not being generated because you don't want to part with your stuff. You just have to learn how to see what stuff you have that could bring revenue. After the car starts making money and you get hooked on creating income out of thin air, the real holy grail will come through if you keep doing your research and start diving into digital products. Now, this is going to tap into some unorthodox strategies, which is what I told you guys at the beginning of the show we were going to start getting into. Monetizing unconventional skills and leveraging technology for scalability, passive income streams is what we're trying to get into. The idea is intoxicating. You want to create something once and it can sell an infinite number of times. This is the world of creating side hustles. So, from launching podcasts to creating online courses, where YouTube is now allowing you to create courses, and these courses can teach skills that you've mastered, you will be able to find ways to generate revenue. One of the things that I used to tell my buddy was, if you get something that generates revenue, you create a revenue stream, you get something that generates revenue, you can take some of the revenue from that revenue stream and invest it into another revenue stream and still take the difference and pocket it as a profit. Usually, when we talk to you about startups, you're taking your primary source of income and you're diversifying it into a startup. If you got a side hustle that is not contributing to your general bills, it's extra money, and that side hustle is funding your startup, your primary source of income is going directly towards your household. So you're not having to take a loss or in order to operate this side hustle. You could steak and lobster it up all day. The irony is, while we might drop ship products that we don't know squat about on Amazon, we don't think that we have anything that we can automate and sell. Because I mean, yeah, you can sell your couch, your bed, your refrigerator, but you can only do that one time. But if you made a spreadsheet and that spreadsheet calculates the stuff that you're wasting your time and your money on in your life, you will be able to find a whole nother skill. And this is going to be considered a weird skill. If you're obsessively organized, that's a weird skill. And you can use that to build complex custom spreadsheets for every part of your life. But you can build complex template spreadsheets and sell that idea online. And while this is just a personal quirk for you, it can turn into something that is a monetizable skill. So if you find information about this world of niche spreadsheets, you can find that those spreadsheets can be sold on Etsy, where people will buy what you're selling. And everything that you're doing there with templates from small business inventory to video game trackers, health and fitness regimen trackers. You can create spreadsheets for just about anything. And because you're creating spreadsheets on a digital format, you can upload the file and a couple screenshots of the thing working, or even a video playthrough of the thing working, and then have people buy access to download the link in order to benefit from the product that you made, where the product will continue to resell itself. You don't have to do anything. Long as Etsy on, it's advertised. Now, another project that you can do, another side hustle, very unorthodox method that you can come from is a hobby like massively complex RPG games. You can build a detailed spreadsheet to track the quest and the character progress for D&D players or any multi-mass or mass multiplayer role-playing game. If you spend a week polishing it up, remove all of the personal data, add a how-to tab, and then give it a clean design, you're able to open that up on Etsy Shop and use free tools like Canva and create attractive listing images. Then research hype specific keywords that players of that same game would search for. Use whatever game title, quest, checklist, and 100% completion planner, and then put it up there for something like $4.99. A few days later, you'll find yourself making sales. Several more days down the line, you start seeing yourself making even more sales. It's going to continue to sell on its own. And this is going to be a thrilling experience of pure creation generating money automatically. So let's sidestep for a scenario because this is going to get you hooked. If you started off needing extra cash and you're renting out extra cars in your yard, you're getting a profit there. You're an organizer. You're generating planners to help people who want to get organized be organized. So you're generating wealth there. You can also, we talked about this earlier this week, generating websites to sell all of your stuff, online stores. What we said, self-published books, so you can write a story about your life, publish the book. Somebody will read it. You start creating other templates like templates for home brewers, detailed travel planners. Everybody loves a travel planner, especially a unique travel planner. And then start targeting specific passionate communities that could use that particular product. If the income starts small, but it's sticky by 6 months after adding 4 or 5 more types of templates, you can find yourself averaging around $1,200 a month. Now, you just realized that from renting out cars, you could average around 12,000 or 10,000 a year. And now you're doing this, which would have generated you another uh, uh, like 12 to 15,000 a year, which means that between renting out cars and selling templates, you're at almost 50,000 a year, where the hardest part of this operation is making sure that the cars don't get stolen. And this is almost entirely passive income. It's primarily residual, but it's going to be, for the most part, passive income because after you set this up, you don't have to do anything else. The rental car system is going to be more residual because you have to connect with the client. You have to meet them by the car. You have to give them the keys. You have to meet them to get the car back. So until you automate that situation, it's going to be a little bit residual, but you do still have that passiveness of creating something, putting it online, setting it up for sale, and then letting it do its own thing. The lesson that you learn is that utilizing your weird skills and your obsessive hobbies, you'll find more value in things that you like to do when you sell that to somebody else. There is a niche for just about everything. You know those commercials that used to be out there that they tell you that there's a button for that? Well, there's a niche for that. Now, you got two income streams, at least two income streams, plus your primary source of income. This could add up to $1,000 to $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month added to your bank account in addition to your daily job. These particular scenarios will feel detached from one another because they're happening through apps and screens. If you start craving even more income streams that would get you into the real world from the computer, you would then start going into a third bizarre income stream, running hyper niche historical walking tours. It's weird, I know, but some people really want to know about where the historical locations are in the city. If you're a massive history buff, then you could be the guy that reads the plaques on the buildings as you pass by, memorizing all of the information about the historical landmarks in your city and your state. No one would ever think, and actually, ironically, Taiwan does this, but nobody ever thinks here in America that you could be a tour guide in the United States for a non American. And this is a way that you can make money. But then, if you partner that with an Airbnb experience, a platform where locals can offer activities in addition to homestead, you've got renting out space in the house, renting out the car in front of the house, and giving them a tour. Three sources of income in addition to generating website platforms, generating the planners. So that's like five sources of income right there. The Airbnb places that really worked were the ones that were specific and story driven. So there was history behind the house. And this is where you can change to monetize a nerdy hobby, like knowing all the details about a historical building that you pass by. This principle could be applied to countless ways, from starting a speaking career at an industry event to become a niche consultant in a field that you had mastered on the side. All of the information that I provide to you guys on this podcast, I could end up being a consultant, a lifestyle consultant, where people pay me to tell them how to live their lives better. Okay. You find yourself a in a rich prohibition era, and you have that knowledge of the history, and you might spend a month devouring all the books and newspapers and archives, crafting a 2 hour narrative, or you can just utilize a AI platform that could do all of that work for you in less than an hour. You generate a script that has key points, planned routes, and finding old photos to add to the script to show people what's going on. You can do three things with this because you can sell the map, like the map to the stars. You can sell that planner, go here, go here, go there, to use as a souvenir as to where you've been. and what history was there when you got there. And then you can create a listing that is called Secrets of the Speakeasy, a prohibition history tour. Price it at around $40 per person, capped at about 10 people in the group. Because if the group is too large, they're going to be having side conversations with one another. Nobody's going to be paying attention to you. But if you cap it at around 10 people and you're charging $40 a person, one tour is $400. If you're renting your car out at today, you're renting your bedroom out for $50 a day. You're giving tours at $400 a tour for 10 people. You're at $500 a day if you did one tour per day. And then you add on online sales, where we assign like about $1,200 worth of online sales. You start making $500 to $600 a day with all of these little side hustles. You start seeing yourself getting closer to $5,000 every 10 days. You see yourself making 15,000 a month. This is when side hustles, this is when little simple gigs turn into a massive revenue stream, because you're taking a bunch of different individually unorthodox revenue streams and compiling it together to a web of financial performance. First few books that you have, you might end up with a family of four or a couple of small couples. You might find yourself a little bit nervous, but 5 minutes in, if you're telling stories about the gangsters and what you've seen on the side, you'll get your customers hooked. At the end of the journey, you might find that some people might tip you another $20 and call it the highlight of the trip. The feeling of getting paid to talk to people is electric. And you might feel like you just got paid for being a geek, but it's something that you love to do. Tours are going to take off. Remember, I told you guys website development. If the tours are taking off, you got a website that you can pitch this at. All of the other products that you're working on, you can pitch that at. If you theme this into a niche, each little bit of these things could all blend into one another. And then you could package deal these things, which will attract genuinely interested people. You'll be continuing to get those 5-star reviews, which will push your tours higher in the search results. So you will be able to sell out your tours every single week. On a good month, your tours could bring you something closer to $1,500 to $2,000. In addition to one to $2,000 worth of renting out cars, a few $100s to a few $1,000s off of renting out houses, where, like I said before, you could find yourself getting closer to 15,000 a month. Now, this stream is an active stream, not a passive one, but it's still joyful. The lesson is still vital. Building wealth is about designing a life you actually want to live. You want to try fun hustles, because once you start giving 2, 3 tours a day, you find yourself burnt out. Feet hurt, back hurt, neck hurt, hot and sweaty if the weather's not good. But the fun hustle can provide a massive cash injection for your investment options and remind you that making money and enjoying your life do not have to be separate things. So the first three streams that you collectively pulled in together became about $4,000 a month in extra income, in addition to your primary job. And you might find that that's more than the take home pay that you get from the job that you hate as you stack up cash, because a lot of us aren't really making $4,000 a month. This is going to be the opportunity when you find the time for moving from the guy with the cool side hustles to a full-fledged business owner. To do that, you're going to need something that could scale and crush corporate salaries. So you're going to have to do some more research and then come to find out some very bizarre business ideas. And the most bizarre ones that are the least imaginable are usually the ones that can be the most successful, but it does require a whole lot more effort to be unique than what it does to be common. If you learn that you could sell assets not traditionally considered investments, like growing and selling your own hair online for the wigs. People do that. Some people cut the tail off of the horse and sell that for a profit. Still hair. They might wash it first, but it's still hair. If you've ever read about people engaging in speculative commodity markets like lean hog furnitures to diversify the wealth, this is another way to go, which is an unorthodox way to generate some money. You can even find um, wager based platforms like Healthy Wage, where you could literally get paid to lose weight. That's another way to give. So if you're an overweight person, you're trying to make you a few bucks, you can go to certain websites that'll pay you to stay on your diet. As we move along, you start looking for other ways to make money because some of these things are good to automate and some of these things take a lot of effort. And when you don't feel like putting in the effort, you still want to make sure that you're generating money from somewhere. So you're going to keep looking and find some unglamorous businesses that you can start up, like professional pet waste management. Yep, you can be a professional pooper scooper. That's a little bit more hands on, but it is the single most profitable decision that you can make next to renting out your stuff. This type of scenario came up when we were having a simple conversation. People that love their dogs but hate cleaning up after them could use somebody who will get paid to clean up after them because some city and states will fine you for not picking up after them. But it's a reoccurring problem that nobody wants to deal with. And when you're trying to resolve a common problem like that, you can usually turn that common problem into a business opportunity. So the competition is going to end up being low because people think the work that you're willing to do is beneath them. You don't want to not get a job to pay the bills because of the lack of prestige. Unsexy businesses are where the real money is. So if you treat it like a real business from day one, spending 50 to re-register and name the buildings, a simple website with a subscription price, you can find yourself getting $15 a week for one cleanup or $20 per week for uh, twice weekly services, generating additional money on top of the money that you've already generated. Some startups cost around $100 for a scooper and a bunch of bags and some hand sanitizer, but it's easy to get into. You can start by marketing flyers. If you got kids, your kids can help you paint the flyers, create the flyers, and then you can go out and hand out the flyers in niche neighborhoods, places that can and are willing to pay for a nanny, right? You're going to get immediate responses off of something like this. You'll land clients just about every week just because you have a setup to tackle their needs. making about $680 a month for 3 hours of work on a Saturday morning, an hourly rate of over $50 an hour. Now, this is going to be where you guys will start scaling things because if you use a routing app to plan most efficient routes, within 3 months, you can have over 40 weekly clients clearing over $3,000 a month. And at this 6 month mark, with 80 clients, you could see yourself earning over 5,000 in a month. And that is the core premise of this process. You can give your 2 week notice and leave the cubicle forever with that type of money, depending on where you're staying at in America. The final step is going to be turning it from a high paying side hustle into a true business. Once he's had over 100 clients, you can then hire a third person to do the job for you. When you start taking in employees, now the employees are doing the scooping and focused on managing the business. When you start delegating to others to pick up the poop, you can start managing the business. A year after starting this scenario, the business can be generating over $10,000 a month in revenue, $10,000 per month with a profit margin of around 70%. Well, why am I telling you this? What is the lesson? Financial freedom is often hidden in plain sight, in the unglamorous and the bizarre. And this brings income stream, which is really the only one that matters out of all of them. You've got the car rentals, the spreadsheets, the tours, um, housekeeping, and now you've got an empire. That's a lot. These tasks that you're substituting someone else to come and take over for you, they were not the end goal. They were the means to an end. Income stream number 5 isn't a hustle. It's going to be a investment portfolio in and of itself, generating passive income through dividends and growth is a hard thing to do, but it is possible. And this was the entire point. The bizarre income stream where the active worker does work to build an automated, self perpetuating wealth machine that would eventually do all the work for you. And those are the ones that are a little bit disturbing. The cash flow from the hustle will give you the capital and the confidence to learn how to invest in other capital gains. Any profits earned from work that can be invested is part of or should be part of your um, tolerance level. The amount of money that you have that you're willing to lose or capable of losing without compromising your standard of living, your tolerance level can increase because you have more money to invest. Start by taking a lot of these ideas, putting them together in an autopilot fashion. Every decision that you make, you're trying to automate it. You're trying to go from being the only person doing this to being the person that calls the person that tells everybody what to do. You might be the guy at the top that is telling the manager, that's telling the shift manager, that's telling the team lead, that's telling the team what to do. You're no longer working, but everybody beneath you is putting in them hours. Once you get this stuff together, get your autopilot up and running, you want to turn back around and set up automatic transfers from the business bank account to a brokerage account every single Monday morning. And this is how you automate savings and investments, taking all emotion out of the equation. Because while the strategy could be that you're going to take a percentage of the total income and come in and put it into stock options, if you recognize that there's a certain quantity of available capital there that wasn't supposed to be shifted, you can find that you can track these things down and then relocate them to a better position to start making money, make money for you. So the second strategy is going to be dead simple. Put every dollar into a threefold portfolio, 70% into low cost S&P 500s, and then 20% in international index, and then the final 10% in the bond index funds of the United States. Now that you know where the other higher risk paths are, some wealthy entrepreneurs would urge you to invest directly into other startups or take advantage of employer shares during liquidity events. So, like when they're laying off everybody, they can give you shares or sell you shares. While this situation is huge in risk, high risk, but it is equally high reward if you succeed. But the approach can create massive wealth if you succeed. However, it can also destroy all of the wealth that you've generated. So if you understand that completely and the chaos proven passive routes to protect the freedom of everything that you're working hard for, you can find that it is less difficult when you're navigating multiple facets instead of trying to dominate one industry when you're coming in it from a common perspective. So think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. The first time that you sell something is $55 from the Toro renter, tiny start. The $1,200 a month from the Etsy shop can pack more snow on top of that snowball. The cash from the historical museum, another set of fresh powders. And the $7,000 a month from the pet waste business was the giant shove that sent this career down a mountain of success. After a while, the snowballs get so big, it starts gathering its own snow, and that's compounded. So the companies that are founded and paying dividends, which are automatically reinvested into the stocks that you buy and the shares that you buy, all while the shares themselves grow value, where you're going to get your dividends separate from your growth. This is what the true wealth system is going to be. It's the ownership of the assets that are growing and making more money, make money for you on their own. Having a side hustle allows you to go from being just an earner to being an owner, where you dictate when you're going in, when you're answering the phone, or just when you're going to call them back because you don't feel like answering the phone ever. All in one day, you can find yourself and your investment portfolio to lean well into six figures if you stay consistent with your operation. It'll start becoming a very own independent income stream, and it's going to be more powerful than all of the others combined. So the Bizarre hustle thought for freedom can now be turned into the system that is automating the investments. And this will give you what you need to build your own wealth. Now, the goal is to use that unglamorous hustle to build a machine. And that machine is going to provide freedom to never have to do anything this stressful again. So that's going to be the journey from the resentful car owner to an accidental landlord, from a nerdy spreadsheet maker to a digital merchant, from a history buff to a paid storyteller, from a guy too proud to scoop poop to the owner of a bizarrely profitable business, and finally using all of that cash to build the only thing that really mattered was automatic wealth machine. Each stream teaches a lesson. Renting a car teaches you to value where others see liabilities. Selling spreadsheets can teach you the power of creating something once and selling it over and over and over again forever. The tours will teach you that you can get paid for your passions. And the poop business can teach you that the biggest opportunities are the ones everyone else avoids. Nevertheless, the biggest lesson is that your income is just a tool. Lasting wealth isn't built by earning more, it's built by creating something that turns your earnings into assets that you own and control. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. It'll take years of work, and you will have to do this by stepping way outside of your comfort zone. But it proves freedom desires are not just for a lucky few. It's available to anyone with the creativity to find a problem and the discipline to buy a system built around solving those problems. Now, we want to hear from you guys. What's the weirdest or most bizarre way that you have ever made money? Make sure you take time to drop it into the comment section. When we read every single one of the messages, we always realize that we have found ourselves looking for new ideas. If you get any of the value from tonight's show, you got to do me a favor and you got to hit that subscribe button, mash those reaction buttons, and follow us on Twitch and Twitter as well. If you ended up going out of town and you missed a few weeks worth of videos, we have the last year worth of videos accessible, and then you can watch them and learn new things. Then, in upcoming weeks, we're going to be doing a deep dive into how you can find your own unsexy but profitable business ideas that, just like the pet waste service, not too many people want to do, but a lot of people need it to be done. You have to remember, since we've polished up the exact spreadsheets that are used to track the incomes from all of the different streams, if you want to grab it for free, you would have to build your own journey. Then I might actually put one of these into the membership where you can download some of the links and get some of the information about the descriptions to some of these spreadsheets, because this is a fantastic idea, helping people utilize their skill set to build a standing business, then taking those standing businesses and invest in them. Did you know that if you take all of this stuff that you get off of these businesses, building up all of these separate businesses, and then funnel them into business bank accounts, and then give yourself a paycheck out of that business bank account going into your personal bank account, or out of the business bank account into a stock portfolio that's going to come out of the stock portfolio and go into a trust, and then come out of that trust and go into your pocket, where, beating around the bush, profits were invested, investments went into the trust, and then the trust pays you dividends, where the income received by you is non-taxed. That's a whole left field priority. There are a lot of things that we can do to make extra money. And I know that today's navigation, it was really off the wall. but you have to take the time to look for it. So, since I got something that I gotta dive into in the next 40 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up a little bit early. I want to thank you guys for coming. I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm gonna keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, there is no way I cannot encourage you guys to look into finding unorthodox ways to automate your service. It is a lot of effort to manage multiple different businesses at the same time. But when you can find ways to put something up online, advertise it for sale, and have it selling links regularly where you don't have to do anything, you will find yourself more successful. So, ladies, like I told you guys before, like I told you girls before, while we are a 61% male driven podcast from the male's perspective, we recognize that you ladies can take this information and make yourselves higher value women as well. Putting forth the effort to change the things that you don't like about your life so that and the things that are inside of your control that you don't like aids you in building yourself a better life where you value yourself more, which allows you to set better standards, which allows you to perform at a better standard. Where when you find that special someone, you have somebody that'll ride with you for the rest of your days. So stay tuned for what we got coming up for Saturday because Saturday is going to be yet another one that's going to be chock full of wild ways that we can make some extra capital gains out of the current um, shutdown. Because the weird part about it is certain gaps in society have a funding source because as Americans, we learned that we pay for convenience. So as soon as you find something that makes other people convenient and you find a solution that you can sell to other people, they will buy convenience from you. And the simplest things in life that become a luxury, it's not government funded. So with that being said, make sure that you guys take the time to like and subscribe. Share this with somebody that needs it. And after you've followed the channel on Twitch or Twitter, go and take a look at some of the other videos that we got up posted. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence